chat here. Hey, I am talking to Scott Allie from Dark Horse Comics, the Editor-in-Chief. Scott, welcome to the Voice of E.
Thanks.
I would like to know, well, we're here at C2E2.
We sure are.
And since we're here, I'd like to know what the heck's going on with Dark Horse Comics right now. Sure.
That's very open-ended, so much. One of the big things we're promoting here, standing behind me, is this painting by David Palumbo of aliens, Prometheus, aliens, Predators over there, AVP. We're doing a big project linking all these books together. Some of these are books that we've been involved with for since 1988, and we're pulling it all together for this series called Fire and Stone that starts in September. We've got a really great bunch of writers with Kelly Sue DeConnick, Josh Williamson, Paul Tobin, Chris Roberson, Chris Sabella, all working together on this very intricately connected story that kind of brings these worlds together. And they've created a cast of characters that's really cool, a cast of characters really kind of designed to be great comic book characters to take you through this world and fight these monsters and kind of make sense of a really complicated sci-fi world.
Very nice, very nice. Now, tell me a little bit about Buffy.
Yeah, with Buffy, we recently relaunched Buffy with season 10. With Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV series ended in 2003 with season 7. And a few years later, one night I got an email from Joss. He said, we're doing season 8 as a comic. Here's the first issue. I'm writing it, and we'll bring in some other writers. So that was season 8. And since then, we've done season 9. We've killed some characters. We've brought some characters back. And season 10 just launched a couple months ago. We've got a monthly Buffy series written by Christos Gage and drawn by Rebecca Isaacs. And occasionally guest co-writer Nicholas Brendan, who's here at the show. And then
Nicholas Brendan's a co-writer.
Yeah, he co-wrote issues 3 through 5. He's coming back for number 7, and then we're gonna have him back in the early teens, I think. But when we do the Buffy comics, we kick off every season with a big writers summit in LA. We get Joss and some of the writers from the TV show and the comic book writers and a whole group of us together. We did it at Joss's house one year. We did it at a big hotel room in Hollywood a couple of years ago, and Nikki came to the one we did in Hollywood last year, and we just get together in the room and we just work out a story. We work out the overall framework for a whole season, and Nikki was a big part of it. He wanted to be there, and he kicked in a lot of ideas. And after season 9 really sort of left Xander out of the focus of the main story, we knew that we wanted to bring Xander back in a big way for season 10. We knew that we had a big story we wanted to tell about him, and it became interesting to bring Nikki in for some of the issues that are more focused on Xander, to really get that voice right and really let him bring out a certain aspect of the character. And he's been having a really good time. He never was part of the writers' room, obviously, when the show was originally on the air, but he's been having a good time reuniting with writers that he worked with back then, and getting to help steer the ship a little bit.
That is pretty cool. I gotta admit, Dracula popped up in this last issue that just came out. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I think Chris did a great job of writing Dracula. Drew Goddard had been a big fan of the character. I think he wrote the episode that Dracula originally appeared in, and he was the writer who brought Dracula into season 8. And and he wasn't there for the Writers' Summit for season 10, but we've shown him some stuff, bounced some stuff off him, because we know he loves that character, and I think he approves.
Now you guys have recently launched a new Tomb Raider.
Yeah, with Gail Simone. Tomb Raider got a complete revamp from Crystal Dynamics. She's a very different character than she was in the 90s, and we've been getting really deeply into the whole video game business. We've been doing art books for video games that have been incredibly huge sellers for us, and we've really tried to push the envelope in terms of what you can do creatively with a video game comic. I think for a long time they were sort of the bastard children of the comic book world, but so were movie tie-ins and TV tie-ins not too long ago, and we took them all really seriously with Star Wars and Aliens and with Buffy. So we felt like we were the guys to really do video game comics right. And this one editor, Dave Marshall, who's been a really successful editor working on the Star Wars books and a lot of other things for us. Dave is a big gamer and really felt like the stories going on in video games these days, like Mass Effect, really have a place in comics. So Dave was instrumental in getting Mass Effect comics going, and then Dragon Age and Halo, and he's the editor on Tomb Raider, who brought Gail Simone in to write it, and we've got a real popular book on our hands.
Well, it really is brilliant to be able to extend the stories that people have invested so much in and wanted to learn so much about. Now it can be continued in comic books.
Yeah, and for us, part of the trick is just like with Buffy, how closely do we get to work with the people really behind the story? With Buffy, we work as closely with Joss as time permits, and he's been very involved in steering the ship, and so we know we're telling the Buffy story that he wants us to tell. So whether it's with Mass Effect or Tomb Raider or, all of these different things, the goal for us is to work as closely as we can with the guys that steer the original property, the initial thing, so that whether we're doing the real official continuation as with Buffy, or we're doing branching stories like we often do with the video games, we just want to do something that feels essential and like a natural extension of the original thing.
Now, Dark Horse has moved into superheroes.
Yep.
In a big way.
Right.
Can you tell me how'd you get there and what's going on right now?
Well, part of it was that we just realized we hadn't been doing a lot of superhero comics. We've always had some superhero comics in our list, and we did Ghost and X and those characters, Barbed Wire, in the 90s and into the 2000s. Pardon me. And we wanted to bring those characters back. Mike had a vision for a superhero world that he wanted to be the architect of, and he wanted to see Dark Horse really grow this world of superheroes, and he wanted to use it as a way to bring our long-running characters like Ghost and X back. There were some archival characters that we had gotten control of that he wanted to make a part of this whole big thing, and he had some ideas for brand new characters like the Occultist, and he saw this world where these characters are connected and to tell a particular kind of story. So we gradually ramped up, and we released one book here and one book there, always with an eye toward how they were gonna tie together down the road, but initially really letting each book kind of do its own thing. So now we're at a point where there's a bunch of the books on the shelves, there's a bunch of books happening at the same time as we lead into some stories that will tie them together more strongly.
So what else is going on at Dark Horse Comics Legacy?
So much, it's an anniversary year for Usagi Yojimbo. Stan Sakai's book has been an important part of Dark Horse for a long time, and before that it was at other companies, Pacific and Fantagraphics. Stan's celebrating an anniversary this year, and we're trying to really help him celebrate that in the biggest possible way. We've got new stuff coming from him, new editions of stuff coming from him, and we've got this benefit book that you may have heard about. Stan, has had some personal troubles in the last year, and the comics industry has really come together. Bill Morrison from Bongo Comics working with us at Dark Horse Comics to do a benefit book to really help Stan out. And Stan is such a well-loved guy, and Usagi is such a beloved character, that tons of amazing artists came out of the woodwork to contribute to this book, to create something amazing that we can sell a ton of copies of and raise a lot of money for Stan.
That's great. That really is great. What about the Strain?
Yeah, the Strain is another big thing for us. We've got a long-running relationship with Guillermo del Toro. He was in Portland a number of years ago and wanted to meet with me and Mike Richardson. We got together with him, and he laid out the idea of doing Strain comics for us. And so Sierra Hahn has been the editor on that. She got the whole thing started with a great creative team, David Lapham and Mike Huddleston, and colorist Dan Jackson, cover artist E.M. Gist, who I think Guillermo directed us to. E.M. Gist is does the scariest monsters, really beautiful stuff. I love those covers. He's been such an integral part of what we're doing there. But yeah, Guillermo is heading into the TV show, which is getting some really crazy teases on TV right now. I don't have cable myself. I was watching cable in the hotel room, and these weird images are popping up on the screen just for a couple seconds in between ads or whatever, and I'm just like, whoa, they're really doing some weird things to promote this show, but it's really exciting. And Guillermo to me is a real visionary director. He's a old school horror geek like me. He wants vampires to be scary, to be terrible and terrifying, And like the horror geeks are going to take back the vampires thanks to Guillermo. And the comic is a big part of it. Guillermo published 3 novels with Chuck Hogan. The 2 of them have worked with us on these comics, and we're rolling into the beginning of the adaptation of the 3rd novel. Night Eternal #1 comes out from Dark Horse in July, right at the same time that the TV show will be launching. And just being partnered with Guillermo, it's just like being partnered with Joss, with Mike Mignola. We got some really amazing talents that we get to work very closely with to bring their visions to comics, and it's a great treat for us.
Is there any other properties in the works that you can mention?
Nothing that hasn't been announced, but we have a lot of different things going on. We got a lot of new creator-owned stuff. Greg Rucka has a new book called Veil that the 3rd issue is just about to come out, and have some more surprises and shocks for people. Gail Simone and Jim Califore's big Kickstarter book, Leaving Megalopolis. We've got a paperback edition of that book coming out in September. We just have so many different things going on. One of the big manga events this year for us is the new Lone Wolf and Cub by Kazuo Koike. We've published 26 volumes of the original Lone Wolf and Cub, and he's actually continuing the story, and we're bringing that manga out really soon. And he's one of the greatest creators of manga or of comics in the history of the medium, so it's great to be doing a new project with him.
Well, Scott, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk.
Absolutely. Thanks.